Alright, it's finally time. Today, we're gonna see how fast we can beat the game with just a Haxorus. Rules are in the description, so I don't need to tell you that this thing is really good. The stats speak for themselves, especially the 147 base attack stat. This thing is going to be one or two shotting everything. Its move pool is also great for the early game. We start with Dragon Rage, which does 40 points of fixed damage. We get Dual Chop at 13, Slash at 20, False Swipe, which could be useful for catching HM users, Dragon Claw, Dragon Dance, Dragon Pulse, Swords Dance, Outrage, and Giga Impact, but we're not going to be using the last two, and as far as TMs go, it has a wide variety, but I'm not going to be picking up a lot of these. I played this alongside Shadow Stitch plays back in February, and I tried to be a bit more aggressive in this playthrough so that I could at least get a comparable time to his. He's a much better player than I am at these games, and if you want to see someone good at these games, go check him out. I'll have a link in the description. As we jump ahead in this playthrough, I don't need to say how useful Dragon Rage is, as it one-shots N's entire team, Bianca's entire team, and I switched things up against Charon. I was trying not to heal at the Pokemon Center, just to save some time, and yes, I did have to go back and listen to the live audio. After all, I did film this 2 months ago, so I don't remember too much of what I said live. For this playthrough, I replaced Snivy with Haxorus, which means we're going to be facing Chili as the first gym leader. Let's see how this one goes. While we really didn't need to give Chili an intro, I feel like that's going to be the theme for a lot of the gym leaders in this playthrough. Anyway, I have 2 Dragon Rages left, which is enough to one-shot his entire team. I'm going to jump ahead to the rival battle against Charon. As we can see, Dragon Rage is falling off now, as it no longer one-shots Tepig, but I do have Dual Chop to this point. While it is only 40 base power, it's going to come in handy for those sturdy users later on. After chasing Team Plasma out of the Wellspring Cave, I pick up the rare candy on Route 3, and then I fail to catch my flying HM user, P-Dove. Keep this in the back of your mind, it'll be relevant for later on. I should note that going forward in these playthroughs, I'm going to catch Woobat from the Wellspring Cave to be my flying user, Roggenrola as my strength user, and will continue to pick up the elemental monkeys as cut users. For now, we're going to continue on to Nackarine City though. After healing at the Pokemon Center, I'm going to beeline it straight for the gym. I do have a battle with N outside of it though, but I crush his team, along with crushing Lenora's gym trainers, and hopefully things continue against the normal type specialist. Because of Hertier's Intimidate, Dual Chop does just under half to it, as its takedown does around the same to me. But because of the recoil damage, I can take it out the next turn with Dragon Rage. And Dragon Rage is also going to be my move of choice on Watchog, as it will two-shot it. However, it puts me to sleep with Hypnosis. I feel like the Chesto Berries Charon gives you are specifically for this fight, and had I put one on, we would have had a first try victory, but unfortunately, Lenora gets me. Instead of resetting in the previous battle, I took the Blackout so I would be a higher level. However, this time, Watchog just goes for Retaliate, and it finishes me. But in the next battle, I've got a Chesto Berry equipped, and Dragon Rage can take down Watchog over 2 turns. Finally. I really need to rerun this thing on my own time. I have to keep reminding myself to not talk about spoilers from the stream. I gotta save those for the end. But I think I can get some personal bests by far when I eventually rerun this, for both the main game and post-game. Of course, next we have to chase Team Plasma through Pinwheel Forest, and this is where I first learned that I should deposit my HM users in Nackarine City. You can avoid the double battle that's just behind me. I'm also going to be battling the Rangers for extra Chesto Berries. You never know when Resto Chesto strats are going to come in handy. Jumping ahead, I just want to say I really like how the Sky Arrow Bridge looks at sunset. I just really like the dusk and nighttime aesthetics in this game. Really in all of the Pokemon games. Once I arrive in Castelia City, I'm not going to waste any time beelining it straight to the gym, to the dock, to the metal office to get Bianca's Muna back. How is it that she can get her Pokemon stolen, but then turn around and give us a hard time in some runs? I don't get it, but hopefully she doesn't give us any difficulty in this run. But one place that gives us no difficulty is the Castelia City Gym. Haxorus is able to squash the bugs in here no problem. I do need to remember in future runs that there are 2 trainers in this gym that are optional. I guess at this point I'm just used to running up to every floor button no matter what. And as you can imagine, Burgh is no match for Haxorus. The only annoying thing about this battle is that one use of Dual Chop doesn't one-shot the Levani, so Burgh stalls some with it being in a healing loop. But once I knock it out, I have the opportunity to learn False Swipe. Normally I'd skip this move because it doesn't have any use in a solo run, but considering I still haven't caught a flyer or strength user, it might be some use to me, so I deleted in the place of Dragon Rage, which really doesn't have a use anymore. I do have a battle against Bianca as I leave town. She's not a challenge, but because I didn't heal after the battle, I am brought under half health, and I have a battle with Charon after this, and my PP is getting pretty low. Although I could heal at the Pokemon Center afterwards, I choose not to. I did have some super potions in my inventory that I used after the battle, and thankfully I have just enough PP to where I'm not punished. Once I enter Nimbasa City, this will surprise you, but I don't buy the TM for return. Instead, I'm going to pick up the HM for strength, then head to Route 16 for the rare candy, and then run around frantically in the grass trying to find a flyer. When I was doing this run live, Shadow and I were unsure if Tranquil appears on this route, and it turns out they don't. Here's a table of encounters in black and white, and you might be wondering, and no, Emolga can't learn Fly. It's a useless flying rodent. I'll have to catch my flyer on Route 6 outside of Driftville City. After 4 failed encounters, I backtrack to the desert resort and pick up the rare candy. I should have picked this up on the first go around here or grabbed it when I have to go to Relic Castle later in the game. Just something I need to start doing in future runs to try and save some time. I then head to the Ferris wheel ride with N, and the dusk aesthetic looks great. I have to battle with him afterwards, and I want to talk about the ability I chose for Haxorus. Just to get it out of the way, its hidden ability is Unnerve, which prevents the opponent from eating berries. I don't find much use in this. But its 2 normal abilities are Rivalry, which is the one I chose. If the opponent is the opposite gender, your attack power is raised by 25%, but if the opponent is the same gender as you, it's reduced by 25%. And then of course, Mold Breaker, which lets you break the mold, like it says when you send a Pokemon into battle with this ability. But in all seriousness, Mold Breaker lets you use moves in battle regardless of abilities. An example is being able to hit a Pokemon with Earthquake that has the ability Levitate. Looking at you, Electros. I probably would have chose Mold Breaker for my ability, but after talking with Shadow Stitch before the stream, I decided to go with Rivalry, because he was as well. I think when I do another stream with him in the future, I'll pick the opposite ability. I'm just glad I rambled long enough to where we can get into the battle against Elisa. I doubt this will be a struggle. I entered this battle paralyzed because one of her gym trainers Emolgas got me with its static ability, which is a bit annoying, more so because I had no items in my inventory that could heal paralysis. Also, while watching back this footage, I never realized that 2 of her 3 Pokemon were male, so my attacks are doing 25% less, but gender be damned, Dragonclaw still one-shots her entire team. Bianca makes me play dress up, so Grass Skirt for my green dragon. I sweep Charon's team as I leave town, and as I battle the Plasma Grunts in the cold storage in Driftville, Haxorus levels up to 32 and can learn Dragon Dance. Earlier, I taught False Swipe to help me catch the flyer that I still haven't caught in this playthrough, but it's also the odd man out since I really want to keep Dragon Claw, Dual Chop, and Slash. The trainers in Clay's gym don't give Haxorus any problems, but one item I didn't pick up before coming here was the Expert Belt. It's now hardwired into my routing to get that item for future playthroughs. Thanks again, Shadow, for showing me that. I've definitely overlooked a lot of held items such as that one when I did my practice run of these games, and in a lot of routes that I had planned out. I've since gone back and made a lot of corrections to notes on routes for Mons that I want to do in the future. Anyway, let's see if Clay's ground types give us any problems. His lead is Krokorok. It's one shot by Dragonclaw, and he sends out his ace Excadrill next. Dragon Claw does half to it as it hits me with a bulldoze, lowering my speed. It then goes for Rock Slide, but thankfully doesn't flinch me as my next Dragon Claw takes it out. Had it flinched me, that would have been a reset. His last Pokemon is Palpitoad, and it's one shot by Dragon Claw. I have a battle with Bianca as I leave town, and her Musharna is sneakily bulky, even with my attack at -1 from Hertier's Intimidate, and the 25% boost to my attacks from Rivalry. I'm still missing ranges on this thing, as it's able to bring me to under half HP with Psybeam. Luckily, this is the toughest Pokemon of hers, and once it goes down, the rest of her team folds pretty quickly. When in Chargestone Cave, I pick up the Bright Powder. This has become one of my go-tos in these Gen 5 solo runs. I even got Shadow Stitch to join Team Bright Powder during this playthrough. Bright Powder strats, best strats, right? And make sure to pick up the rare candy as well before leaving the basement. I have a battle with N before we can exit and enter Mistralton, and a big reason I've hung on to Dual Chop is for Pokemon like his Boldore, who have Sturdy, because each hit is its own separate attack. One use of the move knocks it out. While by the end of this battle I'm left with only 33 HP, a lot of it was self-inflicted due to using Dual Chop on his Pharaoh Seed, because each hit triggers Iron Barbs. I just need to not do things like that in future battles and play smarter, you know? Once you enter Mistralton, Skyla leaves her gym and you have to head to the Celestial Tower on Route 7, but before heading there, I'm going to make a quick pit stop and pick up the TM for X-Scissor along that route. And then finally in this playthrough, I encounter a Tranquil, which I'm going to catch for Fly. I'm never going this long in a playthrough without a Fly user ever again. I don't ever show off the Celestial Tower, but there is one relevant thing here. I pick up the TM for Shadow Claw. My thought process at the time was it could come in use for Chantal. It could also have use against Caitlyn of the Elite Four, but I picked up X-Scissor earlier as a way to have super effective damage against her Pokemon, along with Grimsley's Pokemon when the time comes. Last week we rang the bell in Quailag's domain. This week it's the bell in the Undead Parish, opening the way to Sen's Fortress, or Skyla's gym in this case. And there's no intro for the Flying type specialist this week. Because all of her Pokemon are female, Rivalry is going to boost my attack power against them. I think I went a bit overkill by setting up a Dragon Dance on the Swoobat, but Dragon Claw shreds through her entire team with 3 one-shots. Before leaving town, I make sure to pick up the TM for Aerial Ace on the runway. My thought process at the time was using this for Marshall. Charon this week isn't the troll that he was in the Golurk video. I'm able to one-shot his entire team when I actually do hit. After heading through Twist Mountain and arriving in Iciris City, I head to the Pokemon Center and talk to the lady on the left for the TM for Brick Break. This will give me super effective damage against the upcoming gym, which just happens to be an Ice-type gym and has a type advantage against us. I'm going to delete Slash in the place of Brick Break. Dual Chop is going to remain on my set for the entire run because of sturdy Pokemon, and Dragon Dance will be replaced later by another setup move, which I'm sure you can guess what it is. Of all the main series Pokemon games, there are 4 Ice-type gym leaders: Price, Candace, Bryson, and Grusha. Of these 4, you could make the argument that Candace or Grusha is the best of the bunch. I didn't find Scarlet and Violet to be difficult games, or very interesting or good games for that matter, and I don't have too much Gen 4 experience or knowledge. But if I was going to vote just based off of what I've seen in other solo runs, I would give my vote to Candace. And as far as Bryson and Price, well, both are the 7th gym leaders in their respective regions, although in Johto you could battle Price as early as the 5th gym leader if you want. If I'm incorrect on that, let me know in the comments. I don't play a lot of Gen 2, but I know you need Morty's badge in order to use Surf outside of battle, and you need Surf in order to access the Lake of Rage in the Red Gyarados battle, which then triggers the Mahogany Rocket hideout, and Lance uses Hyper Beam on a human. Bryson hasn't gotten a victory against a Grass type or a Ground type Pokemon. Can he get a victory against a Dragon type? Say it with me, folks. Bryson is a complete joke. Even with Rivalry causing Brick Break to do 25% less damage, it breaks the ice and earns me my 7th gym badge. Dragon Spiral Tower, time for more Team Plasma plotline stuff. While there's nothing of interest here, except for the music, I really like the track that plays here. I want to point out that I do pick up the Dragon Fang while here, a held item that will boost the power of Dragon-type moves by 20%. I'm also going to pick up the Max Elixir here before taking on the back-to-back-to-back-to-back Plasma Grunt battle. Haxorus doesn't struggle at all with this, and at the top of the tower, we see Seto Kaiba with his Blue Eyes White Dragon atop his dual tower. Hopefully he doesn't have 2 more in his hand with a polymerization card. That would spell trouble. After we summon our own Dark Paladin to take down the dragon, we have to head to Relic Castle. We run into Ghetsis as he goes on some tirade about how we're trying to revive Zekrom and how Team Plasma wants to steal every person's Pokemon in the world. We then head to Nackarine and get the Dark Stone from Lenora, and while I'm in the area, I'm going to backtrack to Route 2 and get the rare candy that's hidden behind this boulder. I can then head to Route 8, northeast of Iciris City to make my way towards Opalucid, but first I have to battle against Bianca, and I'm not gonna bother showing this one. I 1 or 2 shot her entire team. Bianca just hasn't been a challenge in this playthrough, and that does it for Bianca's screen time in this run. Once I enter Opalucid City, I have another cutscene with Ghetsis and Team Plasma about how N is going to create a new world with the help of the legendary dragon. Then I have one with Iris and Drayden. It's a story about twin brothers seeking truth and ideals and are accompanied by dragon-type Pokemon before I can finally enter the gym. And as you can imagine, Haxorus has no struggles here, and I wish I could say more about the battle against Iris, but I can't. It's something you've heard me say throughout this entire playthrough. I one-shot her entire team. And I wish I could say that Chern on the way to Victory Road provided some type of challenge, but he didn't. After 1 use of Swords Dance, just to make sure I one-shot his entire team, that's exactly what I do. I don't know if I've ever shown off the gates leading up to Victory Road, how each gate and chamber, if you want to call them that, deal with the badge that you earned. Personally, I'm a fan of the gates that the Insect badge and Bolt badge open up. I always mess up this ice puzzle as well because I'm just holding forward on my D-pad. In Victory Road, I'm going to pick up this rare candy that's blocked off by this patch of water. I do battle 2 trainers while in here, but they're spinners that just catch me. While in Victory Road, I debated picking up the TM for Dragon Claw, but decided against it, and to be honest, I don't have the pathing to it memorized completely. But all that's left for Haxorus to do is to take on the League and clock in with its round 1 time. How will it do? Let's find out. If it wasn't obvious, we're going to be starting with Grimsley for good reason. I don't get punished with Sand Attack by the lead Scrafty, which means after 1 setup of Swords Dance, I can one-shot his entire team, even after getting intimidated by Crocodile. I decide to go after Marshall next. I've taught Aerial Ace in the place of Brick Break, and it one-shots the throw after 1 turn of setup from Swords Dance, although my speed is lowered because of Bulldoze. He sends out Sawk next, which outspeeds me, and deals massive damage from Stone Edge thanks to a critical hit. He's stuck in a healing loop, and eventually I use Dual Chop on it to take it out to get around Sturdy. After all, I've kept it on my moveset for Pokemon like this. Conkeldurr falls to a single Dragon Claw, and last is Mienshao. It's faster, and Jump Kick takes me out, but in the next battle, I have more HP by the time I get to it in order to tank a Jump Kick and take it out. Psychic Trainer Caitlyn. I'll keep this one brief like I did Grimsley. My opening Dragon Claw doesn't one-shot Reuniclus as its Psychic deals over half. Because she's in full restore range, I can squeeze in a Swords Dance and then sweep her team. To think that I picked up Shadow Claw and X-Scissor as TMs to use against her, and I'm not even using them now. But what about Ghost Trainer Chantal? Well, I haven't taught Shadow Claw for this battle, and Cofagrigus burns me with Will-O-Wisp. While I should have just taken the reset here, I decided to play the battle out. She doesn't go for a full restore, and Dual Chop is able to finish off the Cofagrigus and one-shot the following Golurk. Unfortunately, my luck runs out at Chandelure. Because of the burn, my attack stat is cut, and Dual Chop does around half. It retaliates with Shadow Ball, which when combined with the burn damage, leaves me at 21 HP. And even though I knock it out the next turn, I don't have enough HP to survive the battle. I decided before the next battle, I'm going to teach Shadow Claw in the place of Aerial Ace to give me super effective damage on her Pokemon. In the next battle, I make it to the Chandelure with full HP, and Shadow Claw nearly one-shots it. She heals it up with a full restore on the next turn, and I get a better range, knocking it out. Last is Jellicent, and it can't withstand the power of Shadow Claw. I have the opportunity to learn Guillotine at the end of the battle, and as much as I'd love to teach it for the memes, I'm going to skip it. Overall, that was a dominant performance by Haxorus in the league, and a dominant run overall, and to think, I skipped picking up Return among other moves I originally had in my route, but we have the toughest back-to-back battles in the game remaining, and since we're playing the role of Battle City Yugimoto, Joey lends us his Red Eyes Black Dragon to assist us in the semifinals and finals against Seto Kaiba and Merrick. As we make our way through N's castle, or Kaiba's castle in this case, we pick up an extra rare candy, and when I have to capture Red Eyes Black Dragon, I accidentally throw the wrong ball at it. It's a good thing that you get healed up before the first battle against N. Now, with Red Eyes captured, let's get down to business. I went into this battle wanting to set up a Swords Dance, but I wasn't sure which Pokemon to set up on. I didn't want to set up on Reshiram because I didn't want it using a Dragon move, and I didn't want to set up on Vanillix since it does have a type advantage against Haxorus. Archeops can be a hard hitter, and while I probably could have set up one against it, I decided to just knock it out with Dragon Claw instead. This leads us to Kling Kling. Dragon Claw does a little over a third to it as it hits me with Metal Sound, harshly lowering my special defense. I decide let's squeeze in a Swords Dance, and it retaliates with Hyper Beam, which is special in Gen 5. It scores a critical hit and one-shots me. Before the next battle, Shadow reminded me that N's Dragons will always use its signature move on turn 1 against you, Fusion Bolt or Fusion Flare, because the game expects you to use the dragon you just captured, and these moves double in power if the opponent used one against you on the previous turn. Because of this, I can set up to +2, and from here I can sweep his team. I score a critical hit on Kling Kling, which probably mattered, and I also remember to use Dual Chop against the Caracosta to get around its sturdy ability. One of 2 battles down, but we still have to face off against Merrick and his Winged Dragon of Ra, or Ghetsis and his Hydreigon, I guess in this case. I did remember before this battle with N to put on a Pecha Berry, so we can get a free turn of setup against Cofagrigus and don't have to be on a timer in the battle. Can Haxorus get a first try victory, or will this be a wall for it? As I mentioned prior, due to having a Pecha Berry held, I can get a free turn of setup, and from here, it's one hit, one hit, one hit, one hit, until I get to the Bisharp. It hangs on by a thread from Dragon Claw and retaliates with Night Slash, doing 49 HP of damage, but from here, Ghetsis will be stuck in a healing loop until his 5th Pokemon falls. Last is Electros, who like the first 4 Pokemon, fall to a single use of Dragon Claw, winning us the first part of the run. Setting a personal best for now in these games, Haxorus finishes with a real time of 2 hours, 29 minutes and 11 seconds at level 62 with an in-game time of 5 hours and 28 minutes, shattering the previous best I set with Golurk for round 1 in the previous black and white video. And although things are over with N and Ghetsis, things aren't over for Haxorus, because we like to do round 2 of the league on this channel. And prior to the start of our streams, Shadow told me he was going to be doing round 2 of the league as well, which is something he normally doesn't do, and it's going to be an extra treat on his video, so make sure you check that out. And it's something that got me excited for our stream as well, because I fully expected to record the postgame at a later date for Haxorus. Normally I do the postgame the next day or the day after in these runs, because with the real time I spend on them, and with some Pokemon like Emboar who can take an additional 2 hours in the postgame, I like to take a break and refresh my mind. So, let's go over the errands Haxorus runs prior to round 2 of the league. I'm going to go back and pick up some rare candies that I previously skipped. I can definitely start skipping more of these in round 1 of later playthroughs and make my rounds in round 2. I start with the candy in Pinwheel Forest. Next up is Anvil Town, another rare candy that I previously skipped. Then Mistralton Cave. I can get the rare candy in Cabalion's Chamber along with the TM for Rock Slide. This might come in handy for Alder. While making my rounds on the east side of the map, I stop by the village bridge and pick up the leftovers. And while getting in some training along the way to Undella Town, I decide to take a crack at Cynthia. Unfortunately, this is the only attempt I give her. Even at +6 attack, I can't one-shot the Spiritomb with Aerial Ace. The reason I'm not using something like Dragon Claw is because this thing likes to spam Double Team, and Aerial Ace bypasses evasion and accuracy boosts. She sends out Milotic next, which is one-shot by Dragon Claw, and then she sends out her Ace Garchomp. It's faster, and Dragon Rush one-shots me. I definitely could have won that battle if I used my rare candies, which I have a total of 8 in my bag to this point. Since I skipped the HM for Waterfall, there are 2 that I can't access, Lostlorn Forest Candy and Abundant Shrine Candy. After clearing out majority of the trainers on Route 14, I decide to take my attempts at round 2 of the league. We're going to start with Fighting Trainer Marshall. At the end of my training on Route 14, Haxorus was level 66, and I've used all 8 of my rare candies to bring myself to level 74. Dragon Claw one-shots his first 2 Pokemon, Breloom and Mienshao, the second of which does a tiny bit of damage with Fake Out. I remember to use Dual Chop for the Sawk to get around its sturdy ability, and next is Throw. It hangs on from red health from Dragon Claw, as its superpower gets a critical hit, bringing me from 196 HP to 0. In the next battle, I tried Dual Chop, which leaves it in yellow health as it goes for Retaliate. Since Marshall is going to use a full restore, I can get in 1 turn of Swords Dance, and with +2 attack, Dragon Claw can shred his remaining Pokemon, one-shotting all of them. Next up is Psychic Trainer Caitlyn. I get lucky and unlucky in this battle. Unlucky in the case of Shadow Claw. It's doing about half and leaves Musharna on a sliver after the second, but very lucky because it misses Hypnosis twice in a row, and this thing always seems to hit the 60% accurate move. Because it's in full restore range, I can set up a Swords Dance, and then I switch to Dragon Claw, which one-shots it and the following Sigilif. She sends out her ace Metagross next, and she has a second steel type, Bronzong, waiting in the wings, both of which resist dragon type attacks. Dragon Claw does about 2/3 to it, as its Zen Headbutt does just under half to me. I can take it out the next turn and one-shot the following Reuniqueless before she sends out her second steel type. Like with Metagross, Dragon Claw does around 2/3 to it, as its Psychic brings me to a quarter. I can take it out the next turn, and last is Gothitelle, which I one-shot with Dragon Claw. Grimsley is next, and I've taught Brick Break in the place of Dual Chop. It's not going to have any use going forward, and now I have more move, flexibility, and versatility. In this battle, all I need is 2 uses of Swords Dance, and Brick Break sweeps his entire team, although I do switch to Dragon Claw for the Drapion. The best for last, as they say, Ghost Trainer Chantal. She's definitely the toughest of the league members in my opinion. Even after setting up Swords Dance turn 1, Dragon Claw can't one-shot the Coffin and it hits me with Will-O-Wisp. I tried to play the battle out, but I don't even make it past the Coffin, and I don't have any Rouse Berries in my inventory to play around Will-O-Wisp either. And while Resto Chesto is a strat I could use, I only want to go there if it comes to it, which I don't think it will. And in the next battle, I get lucky that Cofagrigus goes for Shadow Ball twice in a row. This allows me to get in a Dragon Claw and a Swords Dance before finishing it on the 3rd turn. And Haxorus tears through her entire team, one-shotting everything and surviving on 20 HP from the Drifblim's aftermath before finally taking out her ace Chandelure. Haxorus is on its way to face the champion Alder. Like with Golurk, I picked up the TM for Rock Slide as answers for Excelgor and Volcarona, and I end up not teaching the move, despite it giving me 2 times and 4 times damage against the aforementioned Pokemon. I'm not even gonna go Resto Chesto for this battle. I'm gonna go in with the moveset I have now and the Bright Powder still equipped. Now, it's time. Excelgor is the lead, and this thing is very annoying. It's a fast special attacker. I get a Bug Buzz miss thanks to the Bright Powder and set up a Swords Dance, but its second connects, dealing half, as Shadow Claw knocks it out. If you're wondering why I'm using Shadow Claw as opposed to Dragon Claw, I'll get to that in just a moment. He sends out Drudigan next, and I can't squeeze in another Swords Dance because it will knock me out. Instead, I have to knock it out with Dragon Claw and take damage from its Rough Skin ability. Vanillix follows, and this thing would take me out also, so I take it out with Dragon Claw, and out comes Escavalier, his most defensive Pokemon. This thing can also pack quite the punch. Dragon Claw brings it to low orange health and it goes for X-Scissor, finishing me off. The next battle goes much worse. I set up a Swords Dance on Excelgor because it wastes its first turn going for me first, which I'm going to freeze frame and talk about this move really quickly. When you use this move, if your opponent selects a damage dealing move, me first will copy it, increase the power by 50% and bypass accuracy checks. And despite the name, it doesn't have priority. Excelgor is just stupid fast. This is also why I'm electing to use a move like Shadow Claw as opposed to Dragon Claw. If me first were to copy Dragon Claw, it would annihilate Haxorus. Now back to the battle. I elect to set up twice on Excelgor in hopes that I can one-shot Escavalier, but this allows it to get 2 Bug Buzzes on me, leaving me with 1 HP when I take it out. And because all of my attacks will make contact with Druddigan, Rough Skin will knock me out, so I have to take another reset. And in the very next battle, Excelgor gets a critical hit with Bug Buzz, one-shotting me. I couldn't believe it. I have one more loss to Alder before I have this battle. Against Escavalier, I go for Brick Break, doing less than half, as its Giga Impact brings me to 36 HP. Because of the recharge turn, I can squeeze in a Swords Dance and knock it out on the following turn. He sends out his ace Volcarona. Dragon Claw gets the one-shot, but its ability Flame Body activates, burning me and cutting my attack stat. I couldn't believe it. His final Pokemon is Bouffalant, and I can only hope and pray. Brick Break doesn't take it out, and it goes for the 70% accurate Stone Edge, finishing me off. Even if this move missed, the burn damage would have taken me out. It would be 3 more battles and 8 losses total to Alder later before I made it past Escavalier again. And I currently have +4 in my attack stat thanks to some luck on Excelgor. Dragon Claw once again one-shots Volcarona, and once again Flame Body activates. I couldn't believe it. Maybe Resto Chesto or Rock Slide is the play on Alder. His final Pokemon Bouffalant comes out, and once again I just have to hope and pray. And this time, Brick Break one-shots it. Finally, Haxorus finishes the postgame with 8 total losses to the champion, with a real time of 43 minutes and 18 seconds at level 79 with a cumulative game time of 6 hours and 32 minutes. Okay, so I gave spoiler warnings in Golurk's run, but since this video is now fully produced, I'm going to show off the little mock tier list I have for the main game and post game. Haxorus by far is the best of the bunch. Maybe it's because I'm slowly improving at these games. Maybe it's because it's a really good Pokemon. I tend to lean towards the second more, but I am slowly improving as a player with Gen 5. And maybe I can top this result when I use one of the legendary dragons or the forces of nature, namely Landorus. Although I believe the Swords of Justice will also perform very well. Anyway, thank you for the continued support on the channel, and big thanks to Shadow Stitch once again for playing this run live with me and giving me some tips to improve my play at these games. Be on the lookout for a future stream from us again, maybe Volcarona or the Hydreigon line. We still gotta talk about that, but also be on the lookout for Shadow's video. I'll have a link down below to it, along with some information for his newly created ROM hack, Vanta Black. This is something I'm going to be checking out very soon, and you should as well. I'm sure he's got more details on his channel regarding it, so I'll send you there. I'll catch you in my next one. Take care, everybody.